Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. Today we are joined by special guest Dan Andros. Thank you for being back in the studio.
Hey.
Wow, that is the loudest that we've ever had. Okay, so he offset Pat's unenthusiastic clap.
Yeah. Right. I'm here today too.
I'm really excited about it.
Couldn't be more.
All right, Stu, tough story.
I was thinking about doing tariffs, Tariffageddon going on right now, hashtag that, as you know, I started a long time
That's
ago.
how I learned about it, by the way. It's a huge hashtag, You came up with that?
Yeah,
he did.
I was the one who started that. But then I was thinking maybe on Friday I don't make the audience want to kill themselves out of boredom. So instead I'm going to go, maybe we'll do that in overtime today.
Okay.
But instead I want to talk about the delicious burgers we had today and why it matters.
I can't wait to hear why it matters. Pat.
A couple of countries are emptying out, and they're filling up the void that we have here in the United States for people, and so that's great. It's we could use more people. Yeah,
Okay,
good.
think?
Great.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get into that. Dan.
All right, we're going to talk about Democratic Rep. Brian Sims, who was out trying to dox teenagers who were pro-lifers out in front of a Planned Parenthood clinic, and he thought it would be a great idea to go on video and try to reward people with $100 to out these teens, these vicious, malicious teens who were apparently just walking on the sidewalk, it looked like, to get their names and addresses out there. So we'll talk about why his demonic actions matter.
I'm not impressed by the $100.
Yeah,
right.
It's got to be
Up the average.
500 maybe, and then
Right.
I'm impressed. 100, I'm like, bro, come on.
My sons are,
embarrassing.
8 and 10, and if I came at them with $100, they'd be like, "Oh, come on, Dad." I'm like, "Nope." Rake the leaves for $100. Like, nah, I'm just gonna sit and watch TV. Thanks.
I like the cost-benefit analysis going on there with the kids these days. Like, screw you, Dad, you do it.
All right, a lot to get into, but first we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing. So if you are looking to refinance, you need a loan, whatever it may be, American Financing is different in that they are not commission-based. They're salary-based. So they're not in it for, the kickbacks that they're getting. They're actually in it to help you. And I know, Stu, you had some experience with them.
Yeah, I mean, because they're salary-based, they don't feel like they have to lock you into any deal. So when we went back and forth, they didn't do the exact type of mortgage that I wanted, which many people have called insane. I mean, whatever. But they didn't do that type of mortgage, and they were happy to say, you know what, if you want that kind, you should go with that other company.
If you want to be irresponsible,
See, again, you keep including these details that don't seem to matter. But it was, again, when do you have a company that's sending away your business because they think it'll be better for you? And there's no, they don't have a motivation to try to get commissions off of my ridiculous mortgage. They were just happy to, I wound up getting the home that I wanted and the deal that I wanted, no matter how insane many people thought it was. But that's impressive. You don't get that from a lot of companies.
Yeah, so they're honest, they're trustworthy. If you need to refinance loan, like I said, you can go to AmericanFinancing.net or you can call 800-906-2440. The Impossible Burger and why it matters.
Yes.
First of all, I have to say I'm offended. I was not offered to come in and taste test the Impossible
I think a future
Burger.
episode of News and Why It Matters needs to feature Impossible Burgers.
I
another
agree.
taste
It's
test.
the only excuse that I can get to eat a burger.
And a great way to expense lunch, which I'm a big fan of. And the Impossible Burger, if you don't know what it is, it largely only matters to people like me, typically, which, I don't eat, I'm vegetarian, which is America's only conservative vegetarian. It is one of those things that I really like these things, Impossible Burgers.
600 calories.
It is but that for a burger on that menu, it's low.
Yeah.
This is a HopDoddy, which is a restaurant chain around here. There's a few of them around here. Good burger place, really good fries with queso or buffalo fries with buffalo sauce and blue cheese. Oh,
We're getting off track here.
sorry. And that's why it matters. You should eat there. We've been talking about it for a while, and there was a story in the news about how there's a shortage of Impossible Burgers. It's just it's a smaller company. It's a private company that's trying to make basically plant-based meat that tastes like meat and not just crap, which is the typical way these burgers would taste. And so there's, got a lot of money behind them, and they came out with these burgers. I've had them a bunch of times before. They're, to me, by far the best on the market. But I was interested because it's been a long time since I had a burger. The last time I did, I ate meat was with Mr. Dan Andros over here back when we did the show in Philly, which was mid-2005, I think?
Yeah.
So it's been a long time. And I wasn't like, maybe I just don't remember what they taste like, and I'm going to be fooled. So we brought it in to taste test, a blind taste test with two of America's greatest beef connoisseurs, Glenn Beck and our own Pat Gray. Pat, can you?
Well, as you know, I'm mostly vegetarian.
Yes, that's true.
I do eat some fish and a little chicken.
Yep.
And some beef, roast,
Yes.
steaks, hamburgers.
Right.
That kind of pork, a little bit of pork,
Yep.
like bacon.
A lot of pork and bacon.
Ham,
I don't
sausage.
Considerable amount of all of those.
Venison, there's some venison. I've eaten a little bit of
I
alligator.
don't hear any vegetables.
I've had duck. Yes.
I don't hear of any vegetables.
But mostly, out of the 9 million species, that's about all you eat.
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
eat maybe 10
Yeah.
out of 9 million.
So, I mean, very low
I'm mostly vegetarian. But I couldn't believe, because I mean, I am Mr. Meat. That's what I'm pretty much known as.
Yes.
That's what they call you around town.
Mr. Meat. Yeah, Mr. Twitter and Mr. Meat. Mr. Meat is real. Mr. Twitter, not so much. I couldn't believe it. Glenn and I both guessed wrong on which burger was actual meat and which was the Impossible Burger.
Wow.
Both of us guessed wrong. It's amazing.
That was stunning to me.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
So I was kind of hoping, I kind of thought they might think it this is an edible thing. Like I could eat this. It wouldn't be my favorite, and this one's definitely meat. This one's not. But the Impossible Burger's okay. They both actually chose the Impossible Burger thinking it was meat, and which is pretty amazing. I mean, that is an incredible.
Completely amazing.
Let me just question the methodology here because I missed this segment. I wish I would have. I really find it hard to believe, as you guys do. Was it doused in your samples? Was it like doused in ketchup or some other sauce to kind of? Because that's how I would always eat like a veggie burger, like the stereotypical awful hockey puck veggie burgers. I would just douse as much ketchup and sauce as I possibly could on it, and I'd be like, this is good sauce with something chewy under it.
Yeah, I mean, Pat's just had bun and cheese, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I might have dipped it into a little bit of aioli, but I tried it both ways, without the aioli and with. And it was really good. I doesn't have a nasty aftertaste.
Even the texture.
You know that some of that the texture was
usually,
right on.
That's usually what
the texture
where you
was
can tell.
better in the plant-based burger than it was the actual meat.
Which is amazing.
Very strange.
This is the one too where they got, it quote unquote bleeds. So
Yeah.
like if you cook it medium rare and you squish it, it'll actually have the juice. It looks just like a burger. It's really weird, but really interesting and a great option for me. That's not why it matters, however. I think here's why it actually matters, and it really does. Forget if you think being a vegetarian is a dumb thing or not. I know most people do.
It is.
Yeah, and that's fine, but that's okay. Forget if you think global warming is a dumb thing or not. You know my stance on this particular topic. Step back and think that these are private companies working within the world of capitalism. People who do care about those things have put their capital, billions of dollars, or at least millions of dollars, into this company to try to make a better product. And it's now to the point, and we're only a few years into this. I mean, they just started a couple years ago. We're now to the point where meat eaters can actually not even know which is regular meat and which is this. And I think if you went to the average person on the street and said, if you can give me a burger that tastes as good, costs the same, it's less calories, it's less fat, it's actually on that, it's healthier than the typical burger, blah, 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 blah. Given the choice, most people I think would be like, okay, I'd rather not have the cow go down. If I could have the exact same thing without that, I'm not gonna stop eating meat, but if you can get me the same thing, sure, that would be great. Same, I think, thing goes when it applies to energy. If coal is the most efficient way, the cheapest way to get civilization / electricity to the masses, and making sure that people in third world countries, in America, and in poverty-stricken areas to get electricity and heat, I want it. I don't care. But I have no loyalty to fossil fuels as the way to do it.
Why would you?
Right. Well, I don't care. Right. So if solar power or wind power becomes better and cheaper, great.
Be happy about it.
Yeah. And all this stuff is happening without the government involvement, especially when it comes to the Impossible Burger. This has nothing to do with the government. It's just people who care about that topic doing things that can advance it on their own, and they're doing a much better job than the government could ever do. To the point of where they actually debuted this in Vegas, the Impossible Burger, the new version of it. I don't know, maybe it was 3 or 4 months ago, and everyone there was like a big tech conference going on, and they were trying it, and they're saying like, this is incredible. Like, same reaction you had. I mean, a lot of people thought it was overhyped, and I think, we even showed it today that it's not. And like, I just love the approach of that. If you have a problem that you care about, don't run to the government and say ban meat. Don't go to the government and do the new Green Deal where they want to get rid of, end all cows.
They just want to end their farts.
And the cow farts.
The cows.
Just do something better. And then people will choose to just do it.
Well, and think about the discrepancy of the visual that brings to my mind as you're describing that between capitalism and socialism. In capitalism, we're sitting here where we have people figuring out how to make burgers, as you said, that are not made out of meat at all, taste better than a burger. And in Venezuela, where socialism is king, they're literally hunting through the trash, trying to find something to eat and killing flamingos and eating them for dinner. I mean, the difference here, and yet we have still somehow, despite impossible burgers on our plates, we have so much abundance that we have this time and resources to look for that, where they can't get a meal.
Yeah, and then where are we deciding to walk towards? When all this stuff is going on, we're walking towards Venezuela. And that is what's so frustrating here. If at some point you feel like from millennials and younger, who seem to have this appreciation for socialism, though they don't know what it is in many cases, will step back and say, like, look at all the things that you like about life, right? All these things, the way you connect, the way you get around with Uber and Lyft. Uber had a big thing today with their IPO. The things that you eat, the choices that you have, all the information you're able to get is 100% coming from this system you say you don't like. At some point, I just feel like maybe as you get older, you wake up and say, wait a minute, now I'm going to think a little deeper. Yeah, I got all these things, and I like to say the man is bad and all the stuff that's easy for every teenager to go into. But at some point, you get to the point where, like, wait a minute, all these things that we're able to accomplish now are all coming from this system. And it allows us, yes, there's people doing things that I don't like in that system. There's a lot of people doing things that I don't like in capitalism. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and like pitch for Jeffy's porn sites on the show. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that capitalism provides that I don't like. But it's the opportunity for people to do the things that they really are passionate about that gives us all these choices.
Also, socialism certainly never gives us anything we don't like.
Yeah,
There's nobody not to like in socialist societies. Is there?
No negative side effects whatsoever.
Right, it's only capitalism. I mean, that's what we're led to believe. That's the spin and the propaganda that we hear all the time. When, I don't know, take a look at Venezuela, see if there's some things there that are not to like. I think you'll find a few. So
Maybe so.
Yeah.
All right, back in a minute.
See, burgers matter. Like you doubted it, but burgers matter.
Right.
Pat, you said that there is a void of people here.
Here there's only 330 million of us. I mean, we need more people. And fortunately, they're coming. They're coming. Yesterday, I said on my show and on Glenn's with Stu yesterday that 1% of the entire population of Guatemala and Honduras have come to the United States. And you're thinking, well, what, since 1975, 1980? No, since last September.
That's incredible.
It really is.
But I lied. It's
It's
not 1% of Guatemalans. It's 1.7% of Guatemalans.
So almost 2.
So almost 2%.
Wow.
In 8 months have poured across our border. But I mean, that is a full 8 months. I mean, how old were any of us back in September? I mean,
call me back when it's 1% a month. That's when I'll start taking it seriously.
Well, it is, I mean, because you think about how it is now. I mean, at least we're having the discussion of border security. Imagine how much that's going to exponentially increase if, let's say, a Bernie Sanders or someone got in power and then they had all the incentives of the world to come over.
Right.
I mean, think about how much that percentage is going to increase.
And Joe Biden just said, I think the other day, that illegal immigrants deserved to have free health care, even if you were an undocumented or illegal immigrant, and that's the front runner for the Democrats right now.
They talk about magnets like it's not a thing, but it's very clearly going to incentivize them.
I don't remember the exact statistic, but it was over 300, it was like 325,000 people from Guatemala in the last 8 months. That was in addition to the 815,000 that are already here illegally from previous times. I mean, it's getting exponentially worse at the border, and we still don't have a wall to show for it. We don't have any increased security really to show for it. We don't have the money to fund doing anything about it. In fact, things are so bad that people get put into these centers and then they're just released.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. A couple things. First of all, there's also hundreds of thousands of people that have come from Venezuela in the last couple of years. And that, I think, would actually be a good move for Trump to say, hey, you know what real asylum claims look like? Venezuela.
Yes.
That's a real asylum claim. This is a government in complete disaster. And we are, look, you got to still check out who these people are. You have to make sure that you go through the process, the strict process of making sure you can tell that there aren't criminals and stuff coming in. But I mean, to make a statement of saying, hey, socialism, what this other party wants, has been tried in Venezuela, and that leads to needing asylum claims. And because those are real asylum claims, we're going to look seriously at the people coming from Venezuela. What we're seeing in Central America is not the same level. What we're seeing in Central America is, first of all, it's largely coming from MS-13, which is another
it's gang
related
activity. I mean, so can people claim asylum from Los Angeles?
Yeah,
from the Bloods and the Crips?
Yeah, I know.
And I need asylum.
It's true. Asylum and refugee resettlement are two very specific things with very specific rules. And normally gang violence doesn't qualify level to that because it's all about whether your government is working essentially with or against you. If your government is crushing you, then that's usually where it comes from. Most of our asylum claims come from places like China and Iraq, not from places like Central America. This is a totally different usage of it. So I think that's part of it. But it's also it's amazing what you say about 1.7% of a country in less than a year going into another country is a massive thing. And this is in you would say a negative environment for illegal immigrants. You're looking at this from another country and you're saying, well, where should I go? Well, the last place you'd think is the guy where he's staying up, build the wall every day on TV, right? Yeah. This really was effective in the first year, and we talked about this on Pat and Stu a lot. Right after he announced, he talked a big game about illegal immigration, and the numbers went way down for about a year. And we kept saying, like, it can't just be talk. You got to follow it with some action. The action never really got there, and now they started flowing in again. But still, like, this is, if you believe the left, this is a hostile place for illegal immigrants, and they're flooding over at the pace of 2.5% per year from an actual country. That's incredible.
And we do have a president who is saying, don't come. Don't come. We're not going to allow it.
Right.
When you get to the border, we're stopping you. And they still come. I mean, it's unsustainable. And you would think the left, with all their talk of sustainability on every issue, would wake up and think, hey, we can't sustain that. We can't sustain 1% every 8 months coming from Guatemala and Honduras. It's impossible.
The left they're such an emotive bunch.
Yes.
So they all of their arguments are framed from sort of an emotional standpoint. So I don't know if the right really wanted to rally some more bipartisan support on this issue, because it is a common sense issue. I don't think anybody would, when push comes to shove, and all of the debates I've seen on YouTube and stuff, that you can get them to admit, like, well, yeah, we have to have some semblance of border security. It's very radical left that will just say, no, open it up to everybody. But I think if you somehow frame the wall, I mean, Trump is not the guy for that. He's just blunt. We need a wall and don't come here. But maybe there's a better way for them to frame that in a more way that appeals emotionally to their sensitivities, because that seems to be the only thing that works on them.
And I'll say too, I mean, I think it's two birds with one stone with Venezuela. I mean, there's 100,000 people, I mean, I can't remember the exact number, but it's over 100,000 people in the last couple of years who have come here from Venezuela. You have the emotion of a terrifying situation in Venezuela that the whole country, people are losing 24 pounds a year because they just can't eat. They're going and killing dogs and eating them. They're going into zoos and eating the animals. They're going through trash. There are organizations, great conservative organizations that are down there right now, and Mercury One has done some of this work, helping people who can't stand this regime and are just trying to get out of there by any means possible. Highlight them. Say you're giving them asylum. Make a big deal about it. Do a press conference with a dozen of them up there saying, thank you for ripping us out of this socialist hellhole. That gets you for not only the anti-socialism thing, but also that you're not against immigrants. You will give asylum when it's real, but we have to have rules that will restrict just a constant flow.
Yeah, we have, with FaithWire, Operation Blessing is from our parent company, and they're also down there. And we did a couple live reports, and we saw the people coming across, just fleeing out of Venezuela, and it's like families, like obviously there's got to be some, check because you don't know who's going to come in there, but it's a lot of families just desperate. And Colombia is actually doing a really cool job of trying to help these people, and give them aid when they come over. So that's something that's really hasn't been highlighted in the media, but I think obviously Trump can't be down there on the border, but as you said, I think it would be a good move for him to do that, because it looks amazing what they're doing, what Colombia's doing, and just trying to at least help these people with food and healthcare and tents and things that are set up to help them immediately as they're coming across the border.
I have to wonder too, what kind of role this issue is going to play in the 2020 election, because I want to believe, maybe this is just me being optimistic, but I want to believe that the average American is not for just open borders or letting a bunch of strangers in. I want to believe that the average American does not think that the Democrat view of this right now is acceptable.
Yeah.
But it's not really what they're running on. They're running on Medicare for All, and they're pushing programs like that. But
they're saying he's hating them, basically,
right.
Which is really their only stance on the issue. What I would say, too, is one other part of this that I think Trump can do a better job of is, the wall is a part of, border policy that we've argued for how many years? Long before Donald Trump was even a Republican, we've been talking about the wall and it being an important part of it.
Or at least a fence.
Yeah, or a fence, or double fence with a road in between. We've gone through all those policies.
Yep.
But a physical border, right, being important, it is a small slice of an immigration policy, though. It is not the end-all be-all. It's not going to cure this, because you have over half of the people who are here illegally are here on overstayed visas and other ways. It has very little to do with the actual. It's like, if you put a border wall up, would it stop 5 to 10% of the illegal immigrants? Yeah, it would. It would have an effect, and it's been really effective in the places it's been used. But that's not 100% of how people get here. Especially, though, it's even more highlighted with this particular problem. What needs to be fixed here is not the wall, it's asylum law and refugee resettlement law. Because those are the things, they're just abusing those things. And because we're saying, yes, everyone can come, and when we're done with them, they all can just come into the country, that can't be the policy. That policy absolutely has to change, or we will always be vulnerable to this, no matter who is president and whether we have a wall. Because a lot of them are not sneaking over the border. These aren't people that are necessarily sneaking over the border and saying asylum. They can walk right up to the port of entry and say, I need asylum. Yeah. And we have guards there, we have walls there, but it doesn't matter. This is a vulnerability that goes well beyond the wall.
And I think that if Republicans would focus on getting messaging out about immigration reform, being the reforms that you're talking about, but just using the term immigration reform instead of talking about the wall, we'd get a lot further in this conversation. Back in a moment. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Stop talking about the wall and let's say, no, we need reforms. Dan, before we go, tell everyone where they can find you.
They can find me over at faithwire.com, where we're covering all the news and goings-ons of the day with an eternal perspective in mind.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Did you practice? Did you rehearse that?
No, I just logged out completely. Don't ask me to say it again.
Aren't you on the Twitters as well?
Oh, yes, at Dan Andros. Thank you for asking.
And I know you and Jason Buttrell were working on an Israel special that I know that we have coming up soon. So we'll be really excited. Yes. Next week? Okay, we'll be really excited to tune into that. We've got Overtime coming up next. Those of you on Blaze TV, make sure to catch it. We will see you there. We're talking Brian Sims. You can't miss it.
Yeah, the demon.